Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a hot minute, and for that I do want to apologise. With so many things these days, life just kind of got in the way. I started a new job and suddenly all my free time just kind of disappeared. So while I'm still updating my journal and recording, getting the time to edit is quite difficult. And so video updates will probably be a little more sparse throughout the year. But I'm determined to keep using my journal as I still love the little pages I get to create. And I still want to share as much of that on here, even if it goes a little slower than before. Today's update is another book, one that was a little left field for me and my usual tastes. It's a book called The Roads to Sata, a 2,000-mile walk through Japan. I didn't add this to the alphabet challenge for the simple reason that the title is just so long, I don't think it could fit it on the page. However, we do get to cross off non-fiction on the genre challenge, and it's awesome that we cleared that square so quickly, because I was sure I was going to struggle to find a non-fiction entry. I finished this on the 14th. Not a bad amount of time for a genre I don't usually consume. I pretty much only read this when I went to bed, but I found it hard to put down. This is also the first reading challenge in the bag. Non-fiction, especially travel writing, is very much a non-typical genre for me, so this was an easy complete. So why a piece of travel writing, of all things? Last year in May, I was able to go to Japan for the first time. This was definitely a bucket list destination, somewhere I'd wanted to go for years. I instantly fell in love with the country, and while I had 2 wonderful weeks there, it definitely wasn't enough. I'd love to go back someday. So in the middle of January, I found myself pretty melancholic, wishing I was back in Japan instead of stuck in cold, windy Scotland. While travelling across the world wasn't exactly an option, I thought I might find some solace in a travel book I'd originally gifted my mum a few years ago. Having finished it, she sent it back to me to read, and I'm very glad that she did. Roads to Sata chronicles the journey of the author, Englishman Alan Booth, as he sets out to walk the 2,000-mile length of Japan, starting in Soya in the northern Hokkaido region and finishing in Cape Sata in the south. The book was published in the 1980s, but the journey itself took place in the 70s, in what some might say was a very different type of Japan that we all know now. There are only brief mentions of Tokyo in an anecdotal sense, but that's not what the book seeks to showcase. In this account, Booth takes us to dozens of tiny villages, places you've likely never heard of, and some of those that, in the 70s, were still mostly untouched from the boom of tourism as we know it now. Along the way, Booth stops for rests in numerous ryokan, each with its own story to tell. Indeed, the different interactions with local villagers make up a large part of this book. It is those interactions, coupled with Booth's own witty insights, that make this such an enjoyable read. The book is also dotted with song lyrics and haiku, which add authenticity and show Booth's respect for the culture. One of my favourite forms the quote I've decided to use for this entry. "When I breathe in, there is a sound in my body, sadder than the winter wind." This isn't your typical travel book. When I think of those, I think of the classic Lonely Planet-esque guidebooks that do nothing more than pick out a country's most famous landmarks and give you heavy analytical information on each. While useful, not exactly thrilling. This was perhaps my first foray into travel writing with a soul, where the journey itself was as much of the experience as the places visited. A big reason for why this struck such a chord and kept me reading was Booth's writing style. He's full of wit, dry sarcasm, and he's painfully honest. If there's one thing this book absolutely does not do, it's romanticise Japan as a picture-perfect country. We see this frequently through Booth's own frustrations. As someone who has lived in Japan for at that point 7 years, who speaks the language fluently, and yet is dismissed on many occasions due to the idea that someone from outside Japan couldn't possibly understand the way of life. Just one example of this comes from a frustrating conversation between Booth and the owner of a ryokan that he's attempting to stay at. The owner continues to point out the numerous difficulties Booth might face, ending with, "But we can't speak English." To which Booth replies, "I don't suppose that will bother us. We've been speaking Japanese for the last 5 minutes." It's this perfect wry humour that is peppered right through the book, and it continues to keep the reader engaged despite the repetitiveness of the journey. Something I really appreciated was Booth taking the time to delve into some of the history of the places he visited. Not least of these was his time spent in Hiroshima at the Peace Memorial Museum. You can tell this isn't an easy chapter for him to write, and that the experience had a heavy emotional impact on him. However, again, this honesty and reflection is why the chapter is so memorable, and he doesn't shy away from the difficult conversations he had whilst there, including one instance where he's yelled at by a passerby who assumes he is American. The vivid and brutal detail that is displayed within these chapters was, while difficult to read, worthwhile in the end. I gave this read 4 stars. While travel writing isn't usually my style, this opened my eyes to what it can be. It's honest, witty, truly interesting, and was an enjoyable read from start to finish. I think if there's one thing that good travel writing should be able to do, it's to accurately reflect the emotions that a person's surroundings invoked in them. Booth does that with an easy elegance. While it didn't physically transport me back to Japan, it did a pretty good job of blocking out the melancholy. Thank you for watching today's video, guys. Let me know if you're a fan of travel writing, and if you picked this one up, definitely give me your thoughts. If you liked today's video, please consider hitting the thumbs up button, and if you want to see more, you can always subscribe and turn on notifications so that you won't miss a single entry. I've got a few more to upload before we get to February's spread, so I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.